Commander Chris West tightened the seals on his volcanic-grade envirosuit as ash swirled across the obsidian plains of Kaylari 5. His boots crunched over blackened rock formations beneath twin suns that bled crimson through the planet's sulfuric haze. The Iron Resolve, his Terran Dominion assault cruiser, lay crippled in the valley below, a casualty of the ion storm that had shredded its hull 3 years prior. Survival here meant constant vigilance against razor winds and seismic tremors that cracked the earth like eggshells. Then, during a routine salvage sweep of the glass wastes, he found her. She was no more than 5 cycles old, huddled in the skeletal remains of a Kaylari scout vessel. Her skin bore faint bioluminescent whorls that pulsed like dying embers, and her eyes, large obsidian orbs flecked with gold, held a terror that mirrored his own early days on this rock. No adults remained. Only scorch marks and the acrid stench of plasma fire suggested violence. He'd seen Kaylari before, the Dominion's rivals in the Perseus quadrant, insectoid diplomats who spoke in clicking harmonics and valued logic over sentiment. Yet this child was different. Her limbs were slender, almost mammalian, and she made no sound as he approached. He knelt, offering a ration bar. She snatched it with trembling fingers, devouring it in silence. Veska. He named her that night in the reinforced bunker he'd carved from a lava tube. A Kaylari word for survivor, sharp enough to honor her grit, but devoid of the softness humans used for orphans. He'd buried too many comrades to coddle weakness. Still, when she woke screaming from nightmares, he sat by her cot, his pulse rifle across his knees. He taught her Dominion standard, not Kaylari tongue. He drilled her in weapon maintenance before basic math, showing her how to strip a plasma carbine while ash storms rattled the bunker doors. Sentiment gets you killed out here, he'd growl, watching her small hands fumble with disassembly. She learned fast. Too fast. Years bled into one another. Veska's bioluminescence intensified as she matured, her skin now glowing with intricate patterns that shifted with her emotions. Calm blues during target practice, urgent reds when seismic sensors blared. She stood nearly as tall as Chris, her frame lean and corded with muscle from hauling water condensers across the wastes. The bunker, once a tomb of despair, thrummed with purpose. She repaired comms arrays he deemed irreparable, her delicate fingers coaxing signals from dead relays. When raiders from the Scorch clans came, she took point, her modified pulse rifle cutting down 3 attackers while Chris covered her flank. He never praised her. Praise bred complacency. But he noted how her shoulders squared when he said, "Adequate." Now, at 17 cycles, she stood before him in the bunker's command alcove, ash filtering through the overhead vents. Her bioluminescence burned a steady cold white, the Kaylari color for resolve. "Commander," she began, voice low but unwavering, "I need the truth about Kaylari 5. Chris didn't look up from calibrating a targeting scope. "Truth is a luxury. We survive here." "Why was I left in that wreck?" she pressed. "The Kaylari don't abandon their young, not even half-breeds." The word half-breed hung between them. Chris had suspected her mixed heritage for years, the softer features, the lack of chitinous plating, but never voiced it. Kaylari purity laws were brutal. He set down the scope. "Your mother was a Kaylari geneticist. Her ship carried experimental bioarmor tech. Raiders ambushed her. She jettisoned you in an escape pod before the Resolve's debris field pulled you both down." He met her gaze. "She chose your survival over hers. Don't insult that by chasing ghosts." Veska's glow flared crimson. "I need to know who I am, where I belong." "Belonging is earned," Chris snapped. "You're Dominion trained. That's your identity." "It's a cage," she shot back. "You've made me a weapon, but you won't let me choose my war." Silence stretched, thick with the hum of generators. Chris knew this reckoning would come. He'd seen it in recruits who outgrew their trainers. But Veska wasn't a recruit. She was the only thing left that felt like family. And family was a liability in the Dominion. "Fine," he said finally. "But you won't go alone?" Chris spent 7 days preparing her ship, a salvaged Kaylari skimmer-class shuttle retrofitted with Dominion stealth plating and a Class 5 plasma cannon. He ignored the ache in his knuckles as he welded reinforcement struts, focusing on the task. Veska worked beside him, her glow shifting from anxious indigo to determined gold as they scoured the wastes for functional parts. "You're giving me a warship," she noted, handing him a stripped-down ion coil. "Insurance," Chris corrected. "The Kaylari homeworld, Kalar Prime, orbits a blue giant in the Veil Nebula. Their High Synod rules with logic, not mercy. If they learn you're half-human, they'll dissect you to study Dominion DNA." He slammed the coil into place. "So you won't tell them?" Veska froze. "What? You'll claim your human DNA came from a lab accident during the Great Schism. The Synod purged impure strains during the Civil War? They'll believe it." Chris' voice hardened. "You'll infiltrate their ranks, gain access to their bio-armor schematics, and transmit them to me. Then you vanish. No ties, no loose ends." Her glow dimmed to a wounded violet. "You're using me." "I'm giving you purpose," Chris countered. "Find your people? Fine, but make it serve the Dominion. That's how you survive out here." He tossed her a data chip. "Everything you need. Kaylari protocols, Synod hierarchy, weak points in their defense grid. Memorize it." Veska pocketed the chip, her jaw tight. "And if I refuse?" Chris hefted his pulse rifle, thumbing the safety off. "Then you're no better than the raiders who killed your mother, and I'll put you down myself." The threat hung, brutal and final. Veska didn't flinch. "I'll bring you those schematics," she said. "Then I'm done with you." Chris almost smiled. She'd learned well. The departure came at dawn cycle, under a sky choked with volcanic smog. Chris stood rigid as Veska boarded the skimmer, her silhouette sharp against the open hatch. He offered no farewell, only a crisp nod. A soldier's goodbye. She returned it, her bioluminescence a steady white. The engines ignited, kicking up ash that stung Chris' eyes. He watched the ship vanish into the murk, heart pounding like it had during his first combat drop. Alone again, Chris threw himself into repairs. He rebuilt the Resolve's core reactor, welded hull breaches, and stockpiled weapons. Each task was a ritual to bury the silence. When seismic sensors screamed, he fought the tremors. When raiders came, he slaughtered them without hesitation. But at night, he'd stare at Veska's empty cot, the data chip he'd secretly embedded in her ship's console burning a hole in his pocket. It tracked her location and tapped her comms. He told himself it was for mission security. Years passed. Kaylari 5's ash storms grew fiercer, but Chris endured. Then, on the 127th day, the sensors blared. Not seismic. Not raiders. A ship, massive, bearing Dominion insignia, dropped from hyperspace above the bunker. Chris grabbed his rifle, expecting an inspection team, or an execution squad for his derelict command. He burst outside, pulse rifle raised as the ship's ramp lowered. A single figure emerged. Veska. But not the girl who'd left. She wore Kaylari battle armor fused with Dominion plating, its surface etched with glowing sigils that pulsed in sync with her skin. Her bioluminescence blazed gold, the color of Kaylari leadership. Behind her, the ship's hull bore the Dominion crest overlaid with Kaylari glyphs. "Commander," she greeted, her voice resonant with authority. Chris lowered his rifle a fraction. "You're alive. More than alive." She stepped closer, her gaze sweeping the bunker, the resolve, him. "I completed your mission. The Synod granted me audience after I presented the bio-armor data. They called me Veska the Unbroken, a symbol of resilience after the schism." A flicker of something bitter crossed her face. They never suspected the human DNA was real. To them, I was a pureblood who'd survived Dominion contamination. Chris felt a surge of pride, quickly buried. "Schematics?" She tapped her wrist comm. A hologram flared. Kaylari bioarmor blueprints annotated with Dominion enhancements. "All here. But I did more. I exposed the Synod's weakness. Their reliance on unstable quantum cores. The Dominion fleet you alerted moved in. Kaylari Prime surrendered 3 months ago. Chris's breath caught. You conquered them? Conquered? Veska's glow shifted to amused orange. No, I brokered a merger. The Synod is now the Kaylari Dominion Protectorate. Our bio-armor tech strengthens their fleets. Their quantum cores power our ships. And she placed a hand on the Dominion insignia on her chestplate, am the first Kaylari to hold rank in the Terran Dominion High Command. Chris stared. This wasn't just success. It was total victory. Humans hadn't just come on top. They'd absorbed Kaylari into their empire, with Veska as the linchpin. Why return? He asked, voice rough. Veska's glow softened to a warm amber. Because you made me strong enough to do this, but strength without purpose is hollow. She gestured to the resolve. The Dominion's recalling all personnel. Kaylari 5's strategic value just doubled. Well, mine its quantum crystals for ship cores. I pulled rank to secure your reinstatement. You've been promoted to fleet commander. Chris felt the weight of his exile lift. He'd spent years believing he was forgotten, disgraced. Now Veska had handed him redemption on a platter. Come with me, she said. Help me command this new protectorate. Show the Kaylari what human resolve looks like. Chris holstered his rifle. For the first time in decades, he smiled. A real one, not a soldier's grimace. Lead the way, Commander Veska. The iron resolve, fully restored and gleaming with fresh Dominion plating, hung in orbit above Kaylari 5. Below, Kaylari and human engineers worked side by side, erecting mining rigs into the ash-choked plains. Veska stood on the bridge, Chris at her shoulder, as the planet's twin suns bled across the viewport. I commands orders, Chris said, reading from a holo display. You're to oversee integration on Kaylari Prime. I'll handle Kaylari 5's resource extraction. Veska nodded, her bioluminescence a calm blue. They fear I'll favor my people. They should, Chris replied bluntly. But you won't. Because you're Dominion first. She turned to him, eyes glinting with gold. And you? Chris watched a transport shuttle descend toward the surface, carrying crates of Dominion rations for the Kaylari workers. I'm where I belong, building an empire. He paused. You did good, kid. The old nickname, Rare Gruff, made her glow flare brighter. You taught me well, Commander. Silence settled, comfortable now. No unspoken fears, no buried regrets. Just two soldiers who'd clawed their way to the top. Veska activated the comms. Prepare for hyperspace jump to Kaylari Prime. As the stars stretched into streaks of light, Chris felt it, the absence of Kaylari 5's crushing isolation. Out here, in the vast dark, humanity reigned. And Veska, his creation, his legacy, was its newest standard-bearer. He placed a hand on her armored shoulder. She covered it with her own, their grips firm, unyielding. The future was theirs to command. Kaylari Prime's capital city, once a labyrinth of crystalline spires humming with Kaylari logic engines, now flew the Terran Dominion banner beside the Kaylari crescent. Veska's office in the Synod Tower overlooked the fusion of both worlds. Humans in gray fatigues walked beside Kaylari in adaptive armor, sharing data slates and rations. The Protectorate wasn't perfect. Old prejudices simmered, and Dominion overseers kept Kaylari scientists on tight leashes, but it was order. Progress. Veska reviewed deployment reports when her comm chimed. Chris' face appeared, haggard, but satisfied. Kaylari 5's first quantum shipment just launched. Yields triple projections. Good, Veska said. The Majestus core upgrade finishes today. It'll spearhead the Andromeda push. Chris grunted. High Command's itching to flex. They've got their eyes on the Cygnus Rift next. Let them. Veska leaned back, her bioluminescence pulsing a steady gold. The Rift's warlords won't stand a chance against Dominion Kaylari tech. A beat. Chris's expression softened. Heard from your mother's people? Veska's glow dimmed to violet, the color of mourning. The geneticists who engineered her work under Dominion oversight now. They confirmed it. She was Kaylari, but her human DNA was spliced to create bio-armor hybrids. She hid me to protect me from the Synod's purge. She met Chris's gaze. She died for me, but you lived for me, taught me to fight for what matters. Chris nodded, no words needed. He'd never been one for sentiment. But as the call ended, he allowed himself a moment, just one, to remember the girl in the ash and the commander she'd become. On Kaylari 5, Chris stood atop the Resolve's command deck, watching Kaylari laborers haul quantum crystals into cargo holds. A young human lieutenant approached, saluting. "Sir, the Andromeda fleet's prepped. Orders?" Chris surveyed his domain, the blackened plains, the Dominion ships cutting through the haze, the future unfolding. "Tell High Command we're ready," he said, voice carrying over the wind. "Tell them the Dominion is coming." The lieutenant snapped a salute and hurried off. Chris turned back to the horizon, where Veska's flagship had vanished into the stars. Humanity had won. Not through luck, but through grit, strategy, and the unbreakable will to dominate. And as long as soldiers like him, and commanders like her, stood guard, no alien race would ever challenge their reign again. The cold winds of Kaylari 5 howled, but Chris West felt only the heat of victory,